right, so we're moving on to Alex, who is in Dallas, Texas. Hi, Alex. You're on with Tracie and John, and it says here you want to talk about potential harm caused by atheism.
Hi, Alex.
Hey.
Yeah. Hi. Can y'all hear me? First of all,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was just listening to this guy was going off.
Yeah, I think the Skull and Bones reference, it was like, what's next? The Illuminati and the Federal Reserve speech or something. I'm just like, I don't have time for this. So, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I called like a couple weeks ago. I apologized. I went back and I watched the video and I realized that I was very nervous and I stuttered a bunch and I didn't really get to have the discussion I wanted, so I wanted to call back.
Okay.
Just thinking about what my argument was,
All right.
out some thoughts. I'm back.
Okay.
So the first thing I wanted to address was, I know it's really, really hard for I think atheists to believe that I used to be an atheist.
Actually, every believer used to be an atheist, so
Right.
I think that we do believe you.
Wait, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean that every believer used to be an atheist?
Did you believe in God when you were born?
I mean, sure. I guess, yeah. I mean, so obviously you believe in God because I used to be religious. Obviously, like, you're religious like a little kid is religious, right? Like, your parents tell you that, hey, God exists, and you're like, okay.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is most Christian religions have this idea that at a certain point you sort of profess your belief, right? You say like, oh, I believe. And so up until that point, you're not really in that camp. So it's when you actually understand it, when you can believe it, that's when you would become a believer. But up to then, you probably wouldn't be a believer. So I do believe you that you were an atheist and that you became a believer.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm Hindu, right?
That's fine.
And yeah. And so obviously, I was atheist in the sense, like, I used to watch Bill Maher and, like, Sam Harris was, like, I loved watching his videos, how he took down people and stuff like that. And obviously, when I am a believer, I obviously have a very clockmaker belief in God, like the clockmaker theory. You're familiar with that, right?
Yeah, so you believe you're like a creationist.
Wait, no, I'm not Wait, God pushed, like, time's arrow. God created science and physics and math and all that stuff. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like, God.
Right, but the watchmaker is basically saying that it's designed, that some intelligence designed the universe, right?
Okay.
That's creationism, isn't it?
Okay, I guess. That's not what I don't believe it's a design. I think, it's.
Well, that's the watchmaker argument.
Okay.
Unless he's talking about something else.
Well,
okay,
Clockmaker.
I'm trying to understand. Like, Hindus believe in something called the Brahman, which is like it's the everything. It's the all reality, all consciousness, all knowing. Like, it's the culmination of I don't know how to put this into words, and I think that's why we have a word for it. But it's like a culmination of science, of life. I don't know. It's a very.
So atheism is harmful because.
Okay, yeah. So let's go into that. The reason why I think so, we talked about politics in the last time I was here, and I asked you what you guys believed in. I know Tracie wasn't a fan of capitalism. I don't know what John believes in. If John is a fan of capitalism or not. What I wanted to say, this is often misquoted, which is a Karl Marx quote on religion, is that it's a opium of the people, meaning that it's a harmful thing. But he believes in capitalist societies where people live disillusioned lives. Religion can be that opium, a sort of medicated concept to help them when they are exploited workers, when they suffer worker alienation, when they are paid low jobs, live low standards, live their day paycheck to paycheck. So, like, a question I have for atheists, often it sounds very, very absurd, which is, why don't you just kill yourself? It's like there's no God, right? And I know it sounds absurd, but, like, that's a genuine question I have, is why do you, like, there's no obligation for any of us to be here.
Do you think, for example, that a dog believes in a god, that the gods are dogs are theistic? Do you have any reason to think that's true?
No.
Okay.
Probably not.
Do dogs value their lives?
Wait, what?
Do dogs value? If you try to kill a dog, will it fight back?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Why?
Well, I don't think dogs have like the complexity of understanding the world like we do.
So what?
Uh,
They value their lives and they don't believe in a God. Is this baffling
Okay,
to
sure.
you?
Sure, I guess. Okay. That's true. I think some people do have a like evolutionary design to stay alive, survive. And there's some people that don't. Especially if you are like what I described, like a large portion of the world that lives like a very, very exploited life that's meaningless. I mean, I don't consider myself like a socialist-ish, but I do look at the world through some kind of Marxist lens where I do think that like some people live very unfulfilled.
So atheist is harmful because why?
Right. So like the reason why atheism it can be harmful is that like without that like spiritual guidance, I think that like people live like people's lives like it's miserable, I think.
So wait a minute here. What is spiritual guidance?
Hold on, let me try to think what I'm trying to say. I don't think atheism can be harmful. I think that is wrong. I think again I want to go back to what I said last time, which was I guess religion can be useful because I think my thesis is going to be religion can be useful in times of helping people do those things, and I don't think
do what things
like help people be an opium for people as like.
Why is that a good thing? Why wouldn't it be a better thing for people to realize they're being exploited and to work to change it instead of just being complacent? Okay, so appeasing people who are in a situation that's intolerable seems to me like a bad solution, not a good solution.
I think those aren't mutually exclusive, right?
Well, sure it is. If you're the idea of it being the opiate of the masses is that it keeps these people suppressed, right? And depressed to a point that they just go on and they don't worry about it and they don't do anything about it. They're not activating, they're accepting of it. And I'm saying that I think that's probably not a good reaction to being exploited and abused.
Yeah, because they don't act to change it.
I agree with that. I mean, I do think that I do agree with that.
Now, I will say, if this helps you out some, let me just let me give you some help. I do think that religion takes advantage of certain things that are helpful to people, right? Like it's a good social network tool. Okay, so there are things that religion does really well. And I agree that in those ways it can be helpful. There are a lot of people with families who appreciate the fact that they can like go to a church and do certain service-oriented things and bring their kids and have cookies and sing songs and all of that. And I think that there are, especially the more liberal churches and the more tolerant churches are great, areas where people can find this sort of non-oppressive religious response where they can then go and still have a happy time with their family. There are some organizations like the Unitarian Universalists. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And they have that same model, and it's more of a civic thing where they're open to people that believe and don't believe and whatever, and they use that same kind of model because it actually is a good model, and it does actually serve to, bring people together and to create society and community with people. So I don't think that, religion does nothing well. In fact, I think it does bring people together in a real obvious, an indisputable way. The question is, what do they do with the people once they have that? And some groups do better things and some groups do not better things.
Well, but another question is the religion necessary for any of that? Is the religion necessary to help other people or to get together in community and have cookies or have pizza or have tamales, which is what we're doing here?
Interject a little bit.
Sure.
I remember reading what a lot of your fans think, and I think a lot of your fans are ardent fans of like capitalism, and I don't think they see a problem with it. I think they do see that like socialism has killed like 1 billion people or whatnot. And I think to those people, I think it's hard to. I have I worded it. The way I wanted to say it was, is that like. I think so the way I always saw it was that religion, Never mind. I think I've come to the conclusion. I think religion can do some good things. Religion can do some bad things. Yeah, I mean, like the point is, I'm not here to like, prove a point and like, we're not scoring points. Like I wanted to have a dialectic, wanted to come to the truth, right? Because I think about these things, and talking to an atheist would help me arrive to what I believe is true, right?
Well, I mean, I'm okay talking with you. I've had an okay time chatting.
There, I did want to respond to because you asked me explicitly if I'm
I'm trying to figure out my thoughts. Is like I do say that you guys point, right? I don't want to believe that like, oh, I'm right.
Okay.
So,
John had a question for you or something.
Well, I wanted to respond because you asked me if I was a fan of capitalism, which I think is a kind of a strange question. But, I think you will find atheists to be all across the political spectrum. It really doesn't have anything to do with whether you believe in a God or not. Personally, I think capitalism does some things very well and it does some things not so well. And in this country, we're kind of indoctrinated towards capitalism as being the best thing. And we're not really truly capitalist, I guess. We have elements of all kinds of things with the way our political system works. So am I a fan? I don't, that's to me is a strange question. I think it is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, sure. When I say fan, my question is, do you think it does more harm than good? Do you like, anyways, I guess it's a very nebulous question. I agree with that. I agree with you guys. I think you guys have changed my mind. Again, like I come here to have.
No, it's totally cool. I appreciate the fact that you use the show as a way to kind of think your way through stuff and get feedback. Right. And I think it's totally fair for you to, at any point, say, you know what, I need to go and think about that some more. I think that's totally fine. And if that's the end of the conversation and it's just like, hey, you've given me stuff to think about, I'll go think about it. Maybe I'll call back later, maybe not. I think that's totally okay. All right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks. Is that?
When I have ideas about certain stuff, I'll call you back, right?
All right. Well, thanks very much, Alec.
That's good. Thank you.